So here's what I want to do in this video. I want to get you started making a texture on a model. I just want to get you started because as with any new program, it's a struggle sometimes to figure out the designer's methodology. What are they trying to get you to think as you do this? You know, think of all the software that you know how to use that was such a struggle in the beginning, and maybe you were screaming and yelling at the developers, and later you find out that it was like really actually awesome because you didn't realize that the whole entire Blender interface works with hotkeys. Think about that. So I've got my default texture model here that I created just for kind of this purpose. Where's my goddamn mouse? And maybe I should talk about interface real fast because holy shit, this is like kind of stupid. Left mouse button rotates, but guess what? It doesn't do it when you're over the top of the goddamn model because that's how you draw on it. Oh, whoops. Now, right mouse button will zoom in and out. So I hold down right and then pull back and forth. Okay, that works great. It's the dolly zoom. I like that. Oh, you can see there's a texture hiding over there. No, it doesn't work when you're over the model. That's your brush. So that's not so good when you get really zoomed in. So I just want to mention that. And middle mouse is pan. Let's talk about the others later. So I want to add a material. Now, I have found that it seems like layer 0 is best served for some other purpose. I did a video on the materials being darker or weirder looking if I try to apply the actual material to layer 0. So you can kind of see the UV unwrap that's in there. So it seems like it's already done something. I don't know if I touched something just, you know, as I started this video, but let's do it all over again. So we'll bring in a new model, 4K textures, hit OK. And in effort to keep, let's say, layer 0 pristine, I start right away with layer 1. And again, going off of how it seems like a designer is trying to guide me, they make layer 0 and layer 1, but you notice it's highlighting layer 1. So it's almost like they're telling me, don't touch layer 1. Again, watch that video if you want on how the textures don't look right if I just apply them to layer 0. So I come over here to stone and I pick this one here. It's the only one right now that they have there. And it wants to make a curvature cavity layer. So I hit OK. Let's go ahead and do that. And the light. Then it wants the ambient occlusion layer. Hit OK to that. And lighting for it. All right. So now it tells me that the layer is locked. I can't do anything to it if it's locked. I'll hit OK. Hit the pin over here. And I can see what the material is going to look like if I apply it. Now, a couple things I need to show you. Imagine, let's say that you close this and you go, yeah, whatever. Let's just hit OK. And then you want to find it. So you assume that, well, let's see, maybe it's a window. No, it's not a window. Oh, you know, it's a view thing. Maybe it's, no, it's not. You need to go to Edit, Preferences, go to Viewport, because it defaults to General. Go to Viewport and make sure Hide Material Preview is unchecked. Hit OK. All right, so I have Material Preview right there. This is probably obvious, but if you have a large model, this gives you the ability to make a little window, get a preview for what you like. I usually size it up to where you've got some smooth and some cavities and some angles here that you can kind of reference, because one of the things, of course, that we're doing with this is we're going to add wear to edges. We're going to add dirt to all our nooks and crannies. So think of that. So when I'm finished with this and I'm happy, well, I go over here to the layer that it's on and I right click and I say fill entire layer. But watch down here. It's going to hide really fast. It's going to say I can't do it because it's locked. Oh, okay, so I better unlock it. Then it's going to say, hey, you know, you could unlock a layer and you could end up forgetting about it. We don't want to have that happen. So you hit OK, and now it's unlocked. Now I can right click on it and I can say fill entire layer. Give it a second. And this is a thing that I was talking about in one of my previous videos where the material preview doesn't look like the fill does. It's lighter, it's darker, something is different about it. And what I've seen so far, as per all of these early videos on this, I don't know why this is happening. I think it's overlapping the ambient occlusion layer. One or the two is happening here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit undo. So it's back to here. And then on layer 1, where it put the what seems to be the ambient occlusion UV map down in there, I'm going to add a new layer. So I'm going to come down here, add a new layer. I've got layer 3. It's layer 3 because apparently I must have made a layer 2 before and deleted it. So whatever, it's layer 3. You can double click on it and you can change its name if you like. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to say fill entire layer for this layer. Give it a minute. And now you see it looks correct. So don't believe that it's actually correct, and maybe it's just because the material preview has a brighter light in its little scene. They should look the same. So that is the first part about adding your material. We'll take this, move it out of the way, and we'll hit the little pin there to close it down. So roll it around, take a look at it, make sure that it looks okay. In some other video, we will talk about how to modify the materials, but right now I want to show you how to add another layer on top of this. The layers in 3DCoat seem to stack on top of each other. So when I add a new layer, if I'm saying layer 1 here, it will add one on top of that, but it will be below, obviously, layer 3 here. If I want to move these around, well, we've got this little thing right here, and you could kind of drag it, but gosh, I almost don't want to do this because it's done weird things. It will end up kind of putting it into the other layer. I think maybe its design is to be able to make a thing and then end up using it as a mask or a mix layer with something else. Not sure about that yet. But down here we've got our little arrows. So if I want to put that above layer 3, which I do, I can use that to move it around. So now I'm on layer 4, and then I want to go to something different. So this is kind of a stone here. I want to add on some paint, so I go to paints. This window here seems to keep changing, and this is something that's very strange to me as well. If you're looking at this and you're looking around for it, look for like this right here. See where we've got a drop-down menu here? I can hit this and you get that like so. This here, for all of our different presets for smart materials, has been this way before, like just a minute ago it was when I was doing a different video. It was in a drop down, and now that I'm here, now it's all laid out like this. Just keep an eye out for that. So I want to go and I want to add a paint. So I click on paint and I have these different presets for paint. Don't worry about the colors. You can change the colors. Each one of these paints is a paint with some different type of distress done to it. That's kind of the thought here. So let's go ahead and pick, how about this peachy looking one here with the edge wear that's kind of dirt and grime in it. So what I've noticed also is the different smart materials, they have got different types of other layers they need. So just as we saw before, ambient occlusion, it might just be that you need to have a different cavity map. Well, we've already got one created, or maybe you need to have a different ambient occlusion, or maybe they need some other kind of layer added. So I'm going to click on that. And when you see nothing happen, don't worry. It's most likely because you collapse material preview. So I'm going to open this up and I'm going to move it over the top, and look at that. So now I've got this color here on that surface. So then if I want to apply that, again, I can come down here and say fill entire layer, or I can right click on this and say fill entire layer. Okay, we'll collapse that up, move it off to the side. So what's happening here is the paint old, it's got some default masking going on here, so they've got some scratches and some edge wear. So automatically it will paint it the color that you want it to be, and then it will mask out certain areas of that paint and show the layer down below. So one last thing I can show you is if I go to layer 3 where we added in the stone, right up here we've got some sliders. So far yet, I haven't figured out how to get back to an actual edit this layer. I'm not sure if it's actually exactly possible, but I do have these sliders here. So I've got paint object, I've got surface, sculpt, layer, layer blending, and that. So maybe that is how I do it, and it's all the same things that were in the material to begin with. Maybe. So I could go here to opacity, and I can move the slider back and forth. What I'm trying to show you is that the opacity of the stone is changing. Also, if you want to use the sliding method, as we're so used to in our other programs, don't hover over the number and try to hold down the mouse and slide, because it's going to go into this. What's that button? I don't know what that is. Go over here where the arrows are. You see, I get the double-headed arrow when I hover over opacity. Then I can slide it back and forth. Okay. So the idea is we've got one layer here that's layer 3, that is the stone, and layer 4 is the paint with some edge and crevice masking, so it's showing through the stone right down here, and it is adding a little bit of grime in other areas. If I come down here to layer 3 and I hide its visibility, it goes white because that's the default color of the original model, you see? Okay, so if you go with that idea, then I could go to layer 4 and I can add a material on top of that. And then maybe I want to add a dirt layer. So the dirt layer, I've got various different ones here. It's kind of seems like it's hard to read, but what you're going to get is dust and dirt in the various different crevices that you can kind of see on the map here. So let's go ahead and bring back the material preview. Let's add this one here. And it says that it needs to have its own ambient occlusion layer. So we'll hit OK to that. Okay, so if I don't have my material preview window over here, it looks like something very bad happened because I've lost all of my other textures, it appears. If I move the material preview window over here, well, it still looks like something's wrong, but I'm seeing some stuff here, and that's what this one is doing. It's creating some kind of dirt in the crevices, but as you can see, everything else is gone. So that has everything to do with your blend method. So over here, I hit the drop down where it says standard blend, and I'll go to multiply, and now you can see that everything is back. So it's going to multiply these two together, and that's kind of what we want to have. It seems. You might choose to do some other method with this. Okay, so now I can come over here to layer 5, and I can say fill entire layer. However, we have got it locked again, so we will uncheck that. And I'm going to leave this popping up for probably most of these videos, but after you kind of sort out that that's what's going on, just say don't show this again. So it's unlocked. Now I can say fill entire layer. And look at that. So by the way, we've got a little bit of an issue here again where the preview became a little bit different than the other. So let's undo that. And then what I want to do is I want to hit the plus sign to add another new layer right here. And I want to fill that entire layer with this grime. You see? So let's do it again. Now I want to try this one. So that's going to need another ambient occlusion layer. So I'm going to cancel that, and I'm going to hit plus sign to add in a new layer. Click back and forth. Hit OK. OK. Great. Same problem again. We'll hit OK to that. I'm going to add a new layer. On layer 8, I'll open this up. I'll bring it over. We'll take a look at what this grime is going to do. So check this out. See that? It's going to get a lot of kind of worn paint look on it. So I am going to take that layer right here, and I'm going to fill the entire new layer. And then I'm going to come down here to the ambient occlusion layer, and I'm going to do a multiply on that. So now you can see we've got our original stone. We've got our pinkish paint layer that we've added. We've got our dirt that goes into primarily the crevices here. And we've got this sort of scuffed up layer that was added here. The scratches that you see, that came from the paint layer, remember. And so then I would say at this point, we might call this done and say we've got a pretty good texture. You could take this and you could export all the textures out, and then you could bring it back into Blender if you wanted to create a scene, or you could bring it into Unreal Engine. The textures are what you're after. You want all of your different texture maps. It will create it, and I will show you that in another video.